Okay.
April 24, 2025. I'm connected up with Mr. Raymond Fujikawa, Dallas, Texas. Is that correct?
Correct.
Yeehaw.
Yeah, man. Yeehaw.
Wow.
How are you, Kermit?
Good. Very good.
You look good.
Working on it.
There we go.
So how long have you lived in Dallas?
It's been 13 years now.
Where were you before that?
San Diego for 15 years.
Ooh, that's a little bit of a leap.
Yeah. Yeah. And then before that, Cincinnati, Ohio for 12 years. And then before that, Salt Lake City, Utah for 6 years.
So was this all career related, or are you in witness protection or
I like that. That's good. I like that. Yeah, I'd like to say witness protection, but no, it's all career related.
okay, awesome. So let's find a starting point. What year did you start at Kamehameha?
Seventh grade.
Okay.
Yep,
We came in at the same time then.
yep, we did.
And you grew up where?
I grew up I was in for, let's see, my first part of life, we lived out in Aikahi Park in the Kaneohe area. In fact, that's where I met Jeff Noah. Jeffrey Noah and I went to the same elementary school. We were in kindergarten and first grade together. I know, small world. But and Jeff Noah was a great guy in kindergarten and first grade as he is now. He was a great guy from day one since I met him, and so I was there, and then we moved. Uh, Actually, we were there, and then my parents shipped us off to live in Kau, the Big Island.
Wow.
We lived there for 3 years, and we didn't know it was because my parents were getting a divorce. So we were shipped off to live with my grandparents, who lived in a very tiny community. There was a town called Naalehu in on the Big Island of Hawaii. It's the southernmost community in the United States, and we lived just outside of Naalehu in an area called Waiohinu. And
Wow. I
I
have a very
know.
good friend. He and his wife both grew up there.
Who was your friend?
His last name's Ibarra with an I.
Oh,
First name Philip. His wife's name is Valerie, and I don't know what her maiden name was, but yeah, that's their home turf.
wow. And yeah, in fact, yeah, we were there for 3 years. In fact, our claim to fame, my grandparents, their home, there was a huge monkey pod tree in the front of their house. And there was, those county signs that show a historical, some kind of historical thing took place. And I always wondered what that was. And come to find out, Mark Twain planted that monkey pod tree in my grandparents' yard. And and it's huge, just a huge. And I remember all the tourist buses and cars always stopping, people getting out in front of my grandparents' house, in front of the monkey pod tree, taking pictures because Mark Twain planted it there.
Wow. Now, is this your maternal grandparents?
Yes, this is excuse me, this is my
Oh,
father's
okay.
parents. And so we were there for 3 years, and then we moved back to Honolulu when my parents were finished being divorced. And then my father got remarried. And then we lived in right on the border of Kahala and Kaimuki, right on the border there. Not in the rich part of Kahala, but in the very humble part of Kahala Kaimuki slash.
I
And
have a friend who graduated from Kaimuki High School, and he lived in that area, and he calls it Lower Kahala.
yeah, yeah, you know what? That would be a good name for it. Yeah, we were in Lower Kahala, and that's where I got. That's when I went from Wailai Elementary School to Kamehameha, and I went to Kamehameha because that's where my father went to school. And I used to look at all of his yearbooks and always thought, hey, that'd be good to go to Kamehameha School. And uh, applied, took the test, and got in seventh grade. And but most of my life, I would say most of my adult life, excuse me, not adult life, but as soon as I got into Kamehameha School, we moved to Hawaii Kai. And so that's where I was until I left for college and then went to the mainland.
How many siblings do you have?
Okay, big story. Let's see. I have a half sister who's older. My mother was married before, and she had a little girl, and then her husband died, and then she met my dad. This was all up in Seattle, and then so I had a half sister, and then I was the firstborn of that marriage, and then I had two younger brothers, and then younger sister, and then but she died when she was 5. She had spinal meningitis. So she died, and then my father, when he remarried, he they adopted a little girl, and then they had two other girls between them, and so let's see, I've never counted before, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I have 7 siblings if you count the halves, the adopteds, the other halves, and what have you. I have 7.
Wow. Okay.
Uh, yeah.
So,
But I'm the only
um,
one who went to Kamehameha.
there you go.
The only one.
First one in line, probably, huh?
Yeah.
No, actually, your half sister's older, so I guess.
Yeah, yeah. But she was very howly. I don't think she would have survived at Kamehameha school.
Now, where do those genes come from? With a last name like Fujikawa, I would think
Fujikawa.
your father would be more Asian, but maybe not.
Oh yeah, my great grandparents, Fujikawas, they Kalakaua and the Emperor of Japan made some kind of uh, exchange program where some people from Japan were going to come to Hawaii on an agricultural learning thing. And so my great grandparents were two of them. They came to Hawaii to work in the cane fields to learn about sugarcane. And they ended up staying. And my grandfather was first generation pure Japanese to be born in Hawaii for our family. So my grandfather, Fujikawa, Thomas Fujikawa, is pure Japanese. Then he married my grandmother, whose father was a Norwegian whaler, and he stayed in the islands when he met my great grandmother, who's pure Hawaiian. So my grandmother is
Wow.
half Norwegian, half Hawaiian, last name Martinson. So my dad, Fujikawa, Riley Fujikawa, is Japanese, Hawaiian, Norwegian. And then he married my mother, who's from Seattle, Washington, and about as howly as you can get. And so I am Hawaiian, Japanese, Norwegian, Scottish, Czechoslovakian, uh, a bunch of howly stuff. I mean, Uh, and of my siblings, of my I have two actual brothers that are full brothers. One looks very Hawaiian. One looks more Asian, and I look more Haole. But it's so funny because when you go to Hawaii, people think, "Oh, you look Haole." Here in the mainland, they all think I look Hawaiian. You know, and I'm like, no, I look outside of my half sister who looks incredibly Haole. She looks. I'm about as the most Haole looking in my family.
So when you fill out those information forms and you get
Yeah.
to the what are you, you have
Mm.
to click boxes all over the place, probably, huh?
I put other. Yeah, I put other because it's hard to explain, and they don't have enough boxes, so I just put other.
Yeah. So um we get to our junior year. Raymond
Mhm.
has other plans.
Yeah, yeah. We get to our junior year at Kamehameha, and I had an opportunity. Oh, excuse me, I'm sorry. I went. Some family things came up, and I went to the mainland, to San Francisco. Uh, I had a chance to go to a high school up there for a semester. The same high school that Robin Williams went to,
Oh,
and uh, it was interesting because I was there. I really loved it. It was the high school was called Redwood High School, and it was in Marin County. And a little history. I remember being in math class uh, at that school, junior year, and I was sitting at a table of eight guys, and we were all talking. And there was this little Howley kid. We're all, everybody in the table was Howley, but this little short Howley kid, and he kept trying to get us to talk to him. And we wouldn't, nobody was paying any attention to him. And finally, he said, "Hey, do any of you want to be in a movie?" And we all stopped and we looked at him. We went, "What are you talking about?" He goes, "My uncle is making a movie in town here, and he needs extras in a scene. And he goes, I'm going to go do it. Would you guys like to come and be in the movie?" And we said, "Who's your uncle?" And he told us his name, and we said, "I never heard of him." So none of us went. So after the semester, I come back to Hawaii, and several months later, this movie comes out, and it's called American Graffiti. And his uncle is George Lucas, who made Star Wars and everything else, and that was his uncle. And I remember seeing the dance scene in the gym where all the extras were being used. And the first shot, there's this little kid dancing. And I thought to myself, oh my goodness, what a
wow.
how interesting. I know it was just interesting. So I went there for a semester. Then I came back and I went and enrolled in Kaiser High School for the second half of my junior year and then my senior year at Kaiser High School. And I graduated from Kaiser High School. But I
Okay.
attended the longest Kamehameha.
So after graduation,
Yes.
what does Raymond do next?
Raymond was accepted to Brigham Young University in Provo, Utah. And so I went to school up there in Provo, Utah. And I was there for a semester. Boy, everything seems to be a semester for me, but I was there for a semester, and then I chose to go. And in our church, when you choose to, we serve 2-year missions for our church, where you go and you give up your life for 2 years, 24/7. You're a missionary. You say goodbye to everything. You don't go date. You don't do anything. You're a full-time missionary. And I did that, and I was sent. All my friends were being sent to Japan and the Philippines and South Korea and Europe and South America, and I got sent to uh, Kentucky. And I guess if you're from Hawaii, that would be as foreign as it comes, I guess, going to Kentucky. But that's where I went for 2 years. And then when I was done, I went back to BYU, and I how I paid for school was I was studying. I wanted to be the next Martin Scorsese. I wanted to be a movie director. So I was studying filmmaking, cinematography, all of that, and how
All
I paid for.
because of that little kid
Yeah, probably,
in elementary.
probably all because of that little kid. So I was studying that, and how I paid for school was I would, if you're going to be a director, you have to learn how to communicate with actors. So I felt that as part of my education, I had to become an actor. So how I paid for school was I would try out for touring uh, stage plays that would tour the US in the summertime. And that's how I got paid, and that's how I paid for school. And
Wow.
then so when I was in college studying to go into the that part of the entertainment world, to make movies, I met my wife and at school, and we started getting. We only dated for 3 months, and then we were engaged for 3 months, and then we've been married now, what, 46 years. And but when we started getting serious, she told me that she wouldn't marry me if I was going to be in the entertainment, anywhere in the entertainment world. She says it was unstable, it was bad influence, it was, et cetera, et cetera. So I had to make a decision, either continue that path, my dream, or marry my other dream. And so I gave up the entertainment world and married my wife, and went instead into the business world.
I don't know if you remember our classmate Kathy Enos Thurston now. She said when she met her husband, who's passed away, on their third date, they both knew and they
Yeah.
committed to getting married. Third date.
No, it's
And
interesting. I hate to say this to ruin it, but uh, I knew on the first date, in fact, before the date even started, I, my wife, I went to pick her up for a date, my first date with her. She came walking out of the back of her apartment, and something, I consider it a very spiritual influence. Uh, Very clearly, it wasn't small, or a still small voice, or this little, this whisper. It was a loud voice that said very clearly in my mind, "This is who you will marry." And
now,
I was caught off guard, and I was like in shock. But she comes walking out, and I hear this, and I knew immediately that this was who I was supposed to marry.
now, how long did you know her before the first date?
Uh, I met her at a party, danced with her once, never saw her again until I was working in a department store, and she comes walking in with her girlfriend. I chatted with her for a few minutes, found out where she was working. I called up where she was working, asked her out on a date. She said yes. And I went to pick her up. She comes walking out, and I hear this in my mind.
Wow.
I know, I know, I know. It was, and dated for 3 months, engaged for 3 months, and we've been married for 46 years later. Um, so anyone who watches this, when those impulses or those voices or anything tells you to do something, as long as it's not go murder somebody, uh, you better act upon it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And kids? You guys have how many
Oh,
kids?
kids. Oh, we have five children. We had one child, then we had a set of triplets. Yeah, we had a set of
Wow.
triplets. And then we had one more. So we had five children. They're all married. They live all over the continental US. And we have 23 grandchildren.
Now the triplets, are they identical
No,
or
there's
fraternal?
a boy and two girls. And it's interesting because all my girls, they all look like they're from Hawaii. They have olive skin, dark eyes, dark hair, beautiful girls. And then my son, the only one to keep Fujikawa, the last name, he's blonde, blue-eyed, fair-skinned Fujikawa. And he married a blonde, blue-eyed girl, and all of their children are all blonde, blue eyes, Fujikawa. And so one day I said, one day, 100 years from now, your descendants will all be together in a big family reunion, and they all will look like they're the Jorgensen family from Norway or Sweden or something. And they're all going to try to figure out how they got that Japanese last name. Yeah. My
Oh
wife is
boy.
half German, half Dutch. Her mother came over on a boat from Holland, and so she's half German, half Dutch. So,
And
but
your
my
wife's first
daughters,
generation then.
yeah, yeah, first generation, and so 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 it's interesting because if you saw my children, boy, my girls all look like they could have all gone to Kamehameha school, except my son. He would look like he went to Punahou, and it's interesting because if you look at the grandchildren, there's no middle of the road. You are either you look like you're from Hawaii, or you look like you are definitely from Europe somewhere. There is no in between. You look like you're from the islands, or you look like you're from Europe.
You didn't do
Yeah.
that proper hopper mix, huh?
No, there's no, I mean, I mean, well, I guess you could all say that the ones that look from Hawaii are Hapa, but if you saw them, Kermit, if you saw them, you'd go, oh, I could pick out which ones have the blood, or it shows. Yeah, it's very obvious. In fact, they even look more local than me.
The
So, yeah,
wonderful world of genetics, huh?
the wonderful world of genetics. Yes, yes. So, five kids, 23 grandchildren. I have kids living in Washington State, Utah, Nebraska, Florida, and here in Dallas.
Now, how old is your oldest grandchild?
My oldest grandchild is 18 years old.
Wow,
He's
okay. That's
he's graduating from high school next month. I'm going to brag just a little bit. He has been called to serve a 2-year mission. He's leaving in June for uh for South Korea.
okay.
For South Korea. So he's
I was
learning the Korean.
expecting you to say New Jersey
New
or
Jersey, no, South Korea. He's going to learn the Korean language. And at the same time he got called, he applied for all of these different Ivy League schools, and he got accepted into all of them. Uh, but he got a full ride academic scholarship to Brigham Young University in Utah. So, and that's where he always wanted to go. And that's where he's going when he comes back from his mission.
oh,
So, but he's 18. So that's my oldest. And my youngest she's 5. So it's all 23 are spread out. And it's interesting because they're all in. they're all grouped into different age groups. And once the grandchildren hit a certain age group, and that's about 14, 15, 16, right through there. My wife and I, we take that age group and we take them all on a trip to New York City, and we go sightseeing with them. We do all these wonderful things, go to great restaurants, and we go to a bunch of Broadway shows that they go with their grandparents to build a memory. And then they're done with that. And then the next group that hits that age group, we take them to New York City. And so we do that with these groups of ages and so we did that with one group. Now the second group is about to turn that age, so we'll be taking them to New York City to do the same thing.
Awesome. That's
Build
neat
these
though.
memories.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
and to me it's important.
Oh yeah, it is. We do uh my wife I got this from her. She believes in building memories, not anything else but memories. So every year, not every year, because we have to share children and grandchildren with in-laws, as you know. But every other year, we have a big family reunion. And what we do is my wife and I, because you have 35 people in it, with between children and their spouses and grandchildren, there's 35 of us. So I rent, wherever we go, I rent a giant house that has at least 10 bedrooms and 10 bathrooms. And and what my wife and I do is we usually do it on a lake or by an ocean or something. And we rent it, we stock it with food, we get all the toys, boats and everything else. And all we tell our kids is we take care of all that expense. You just have to get you and your family there. And and that's what we do every other year, and we'll continue to do that until until it's not feasible, I guess, anymore. But every other year we do that.
Do you try to keep it in the same time of year?
We always try to do it in a certain time of year because everybody's families get so busy. There's so many events and summer events and everything. So we try to do it all in the same time of the year.
When you said you had 23, I thought possibly the oldest would be older because my oldest grandchild is 28
Oh
and just
boy!
and just gave me my second grandchild on April 15th.
Oh wow! Oh
I guess
wow!
I guess
You
he
mean great
needed the write
grandchild?
out.
You mean
Yeah.
great grandchild? Congratulations! That's fantastic.
Yeah.
Wow! I don't have any great grandchildren yet, so you've got me, Kermit. You've I don't know how many in our class have great grandchildren, so that's pretty cool.
There's a couple I've talked to, so uh,
Wow!
but
Wow!
but to me, what's more impressive is the number of grandchildren. Richard Bartlett has double digits. Couple others I've talked to, and I have problem. I have nine,
Yeah,
and
that's a
when
good number. That's a
yeah,
good
but
number.
at the time when they were around to all be where we they could be in the same room together, uh, names wouldn't even come to me. I'd have to call them by what they were wearing. Hey, you in
Yeah,
the blue
yeah.
shirt.
You in the blue shirt. I never had a problem with the name. Never. But don't ask me birth dates or what middle names are or any of my wife knows all that. I know first name. That's it. And
and
it's
and
interesting
which kid
too.
they belong to.
And I know who they belong to. But it's interesting because it's the first, and you know this, it's the first grandchild that names you and everybody else follows it. So my oldest grandson, 18, when he was starting to talk, my wife's name is Tammy, Tammy. So he tried to say Tammy and he couldn't. So he called her Bammy, and then it turned into Bam Bam. So all of our grandchildren call my wife Bam Bam, and they call me Pa. So Bam Bam and Pa. That's what we're called. So
Oh, that
yeah.
that's just interesting.
Oh, it is. And
Kids
it
can
and
be
you
so
and you
creative.
feel and you never thought you would ever be this old, and or have all that. I mean, it's amazing how life progresses.
So when you made the decision to live life with Tammy as opposed to living life as a movie director,
Right.
what field did you enter?
I in just the business world, just general business, and then I went into the finance world right after, and I didn't really like it. And a friend of mine who was in the medical field told me about a company that was looking for people to work there. I mean, yeah. So basically, what happened is I moved from the finance world to the medical community. And so what happened? I started out working for a orthopedic company as a sales guy. So going visiting surgeons, going to the hospitals, going into the operating room with the products that were used, surgical products. And I went to work for those companies, learning about how the products are used, and then my job would be to go in, show these to the physicians, the surgeons, and then go and work on them in cadavers with them, how to and show them how to implant them, and then go into the operating room, and then you just there to instruct if there's any questions that need to be answered. And then I did that for a few years, and then my goal was to leave that and to stay in that industry, but to go into the management side of it. And so uh, I went a company, a brand new medical company that was still in the FDA stages of development. They came to me and offered me a senior management position with their company, and because they were a new company and they were just starting building things, so they started building this company, and I went to work for them. I wanted the opportunity to get into the management side of things, so I orthopedic sports medicine, the arthroscopy division of healthcare, and they developed a new surgical technique for the shoulder. And so I went to work for them, and it was a small company. And then it blew up. It went fantastic. It was a revolutionary new development, and we ended up growing that company well. Then we took it public on the stock exchange, and then we sold it to Johnson and Johnson, and it's now the arthroscopic division of J&J Medical. And then once you've done that, once you've had a hand in building a company like that, then all of these companies come to you and they want you to do the same thing for them. So that's what I did. I stayed in healthcare all my career and just started going from one company to another, building these companies and then turning around and selling them or taking them public, and then do it again for another company. And then I did that, and then I just retired. Well, I retired when I was 62, so that was 6 years ago, and I was retired for 3 years, and then one more of these companies came back and talked me into doing it again for them. So I did that for a year and a half, and then they did what they were, wanted to do, and then I retired again, and then another company came back, and so I did it until as soon as I turned 68. I said, at the end of my 68th, excuse me, end of my 67th year, I turned 68 in January. I said, listen, I'm done, and so I'm done. I want to. spend more time with family and smell the roses,
There you go. And as we have discussions around our 50th,
Yeah.
it becomes, I've reprioritized things,
Yeah.
so I'm
Yeah,
just
you
taking a
do.
peek to make sure. Okay, Raymond, while I got you, before I forget, when is your birthday?
January 5th,
Okay,
1957.
January 5th.
Yep. By the way, Kermit, I just want anyone who's listening, by the way, I think what you're doing here is a wonderful, wonderful thing. You do it so well. I've listened to a lot of the other interviews you've done, and they were very, very worthwhile to listen to. I enjoyed them very much. And I really appreciate, and I'm sure all the other classmates who have a chance to listen to this appreciate the time and the effort that you put in to making these happen. And I think they're very, very worthwhile, and I've enjoyed them a lot. And thank you very, very much for for doing this and to share this and to share of your time in doing it. It's very valuable, and I'm sure we're all grateful for it. Thank you.
Well, thank you right back because it's when I had the idea, you look forward and you imagine why I'm doing it, what purpose could it serve, and then on day one, you're hooking things together and you're thinking, oh my God, what if this thing just, you know, falls flat on its face? But yeah, I've been getting good uh, remarks back from folks and they're enjoying it.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. For
And what's
sure. I
nice to me is it gives me a chance. In fact, I was just talking to Kihao Shaler this morning in one of
hmm
these,
hmm
and obviously, none of us got to spend time with every other classmate out there.
Yeah, yeah.
And when we took that group trip in 23,
The one on the train.
yeah,
Yeah,
I got to sit with two or three people that I probably had never shared any words with
that's
in
good. That's
in
so
4 years
good.
of high school. So that's three more that I know something about. And doing this, I'm finding out more, and others are finding out more too.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
yeah.
knew that guy, never really talked to him,
Well,
and
well, it's interesting because Kamehameha is a unique situation. Most high schools, you don't, it isn't like Kamehameha School because Kamehameha School, there was an unintended division. There were the boarders, and then there were the day students, right? And the ones who were the boarders, they got to know each other very, very well. I mean, you became like family. I mean, you were living together. You saw, everything about them, the good and the bad. And I mean, it was an amazing, what an amazing blessing to be able to have that. And then there were the day students that what most people experience for high school, right? All over the place. And so the day students didn't get to see that side of it. So here's the uniqueness of Kamehameha. So when you get a group together for a reunion, there are those who know each other really, really well. And there are those who just don't because we were day students. And that's just a unique thing. So these kind of things are incredibly valuable. So again, thank you for having the intuitiveness, the creativity, and the thought to put something like this together. It's really good.
thanks. And I also have noticed over the decades that life at Kamehameha, in conjunction with growing up with an aloha spirit type culture, when
Yeah.
I run into people from Kamehameha, from other years, it's like an instant. I'm gonna like you no matter what. I don't care. It's like that Ohana feeling is just
Oh yeah.
immediate.
Oh yeah.
Because I
Yeah.
met people up here in the Midwest that, oh yeah, I'm class of '87 or I'm class of '81 or I'm class of
Doesn't matter, does it?
'68.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Doesn't matter.
Then
Yeah.
automatically there's like, well, got to do lunch or come my house
Yeah.
or, it's like,
And by the
just
way,
because.
I like those pictures that you put on Facebook of those plates of food that you make. Yeah. I always look at it and go, as soon as I see it, I go, oh, I gotta make a L&L Hawaiian barbecue run. There's one down from my house, so you know, I gotta go after I see the stuff you put on your pictures. My mouth is watering right now thinking about it. It's funny, my wife, bless her heart, she knows me so well. In my pantry of my kitchen, you go into that boxes and boxes of all different kind of seed, from she orders it from Hawaii. There's all kind of sweet whole seed, voodoo, the one with all the grass in it. I mean, all kinds. Shredded mango. It's all in my pantry because my wife she orders it in boxes of it comes because she knows how much I love that stuff.
Have your
Yet, if
grandkids
I go and
shown
buy some to go to the Asian store and she and daikon, I can put it in the fridge, but if I'm going to eat it, I have to go outside.
I hear you, man.
My wife is, yeah, she goes, I know you love that and enjoy, go outside and have at it. But please put the lids back on in the house and put it back in the fridge.
Yeah. Kind of air it off the outside of the bottle a little bit before you
Yep,
walk
yep,
back
yep.
in.
Yep, yep, boy, for sure.
That's awesome. When was the last time you were back in Hawaii?
About a month ago.
Oh, okay.
Month ago, it was Kaiser High School's high school 50th high school reunion. And I was I I was going to go. I was planning on going anyway to go to the Big Island to see some family, and it was just so happened that it was going to coincide right at the same time. So one of my classmates from Kaiser is she's a federal judge, and so she's a member of the Elks Club there in Waikiki. So it was at the Elks Club.
Nice
That's where
place.
it was. Yeah. And so we had it there and it was 3 days of but I only went to the one, the dinner, and then because I went to the but they had a huge program and I was asked to be the MC, so I was the MC for the dinner and the whole program, and so I went to do that. That's where I went. That's the last time I was in Hawaii.
Awesome. Good,
I
good,
try to
good.
go once a year. Try.
Okay.
Little rundown though. Honolulu is looking a little run down a little bit.
I hear stories.
Too
So
much. Yeah. It's just looking. It just looks a little beat up right now. I mean, I know it's a horrible thing what happened to Lahaina, the fires, but I'm excited for them too at the time that they get to rebuild and have this a brand new area, right there in Maui. That would be, hopefully it turns out good for the people and not just for, industry and for those who are trying to benefit from it. But I was a little disappointed when I was driving through Honolulu there's a lot. Just everything looked a little bit old. And then when I went to Leonard's Bakery, I was kind of a little taken back how boss up the building was. But ocean air, because that caused on some buildings, so you never know.
And you mentioned Leonard's, and
What other
now
questions do you have for me? Oh yeah, love
um,
Leonard's. Ooh, love Leonard's.
because I can't even remember the last time I had a real malasada, 4, 5, 6 years maybe.
Oh my gosh. Oh, you know what? But you got to be very specific when you go there because they do so much business that if you don't ask, you can get disappointed. Like I went and I just said, give me the regular, just the regular, because they have all different types of, malasadas now. I said, I just want the regular malasada. And when I got it, I was a little disappointed and I told my brother, and he goes, "Oh, hey, what was it that was disappointing?" I said, "It didn't have as much sugar and cinnamon on it." And he goes, "Oh, you got to ask for that." So the next day I went back and I said, "Hey, I like regular malasadas, but make sure you put plenty sugar and cinnamon on top." They went, "Okay." And then it was like the malasada I was used to.
Wow.
You just,
And you,
you never know.
yeah, and I wouldn't know if I walked up. I would have done just like you.
Yeah, yeah. Because, everybody in that line, and there was a line, everybody in that line, I'd say 90% were tourists, haoles, or Japanese tourists. There was very few locals that were in line.
Yeah, and I don't know the specifics of that business, but I would think it'd be neat if they did like L&L is doing and then just do mainland expansion because if you have
Oh,
malasadas, it's really one item. It probably wouldn't take a lot of money to open up any kind of little brick and mortar, and you probably wouldn't need that much space either if they can do it out of a wagon like they do.
oh yeah. And they have those Leonard's wagons that you see on the North Shore and stuff, and it's really good. But it's interesting because now I know you experience it up where you live, but it's all over here. It's interesting going through all the mainland grocery stores, and they have King's Bakery, you know, King's Bakery bread, rolls, and everything else.
Yeah.
Does something explode behind you or something?
we we're my wife's working on lunch, so my granddaughter,
Oh,
she's
okay.
23 and she's a welder.
Oh, wow.
And she comes over for lunch.
Wow.
She comes over for her lunch half hour every day. So
Very nice. Very nice. My
yeah.
brother is a welder in Las Vegas. He's a welder in Las Vegas. So, what other questions do you have for me?
Just I don't know. It seems like we've covered family, we've covered
Yeah.
career, we've
Yeah.
covered travel.
Where we live. Yeah. Yeah.
Mm.
With my career, I've been able to travel all over the world. Obviously, there's doctors all over the world. And so I've been able to travel. I've taken my wife with me. And, of all the places I've been, the only place I haven't been, which is kind of a little shocking, uh, we're going to go in September. And that is, I've been everywhere, but I haven't been to Japan. So
Wow.
we're going to go to Japan in September.
And from everything I've heard, it's on my bucket list. I mean, I would love to go. It just sounds
Did
fascinating.
I cut out?
It's been spotty. I
So a
don't know
little,
if a
yeah,
little bit of static, but let
yeah.
me ask you this. Where's your favorite place that you have been overseas?
No, that's a great question because I've loved I loved all the places I've been, but I think the most intriguing place I've been was was Israel, the Middle East. Uh, that was fascinating. Uh, the history, the culture, the how the world, how it affects, how that little place in that little area has an effect on the entire world. And it was interesting. It was very, very interesting. I never thought I would ever have fruit that was better than what I had in Hawaii. Better than what we have in Hawaii. It was amazing. It was amazing. But
Wow.
the history, just the religious history was incredible. So no, I've loved everything about all the places I've traveled to. But my favorite place is, I would say, at least the most interesting was Israel, the Middle East.
My wife's in a Bible study right now. They're studying the story of Esther, and
Yep.
in the programming, there's an area map, and it was kind of neat. She's, really intrigued and interested by, okay, so that's where the Red Sea is, and that's where this is, and
Yeah.
stuff you've heard
Yeah.
and learned about, but unless you actually place it on a map,
Huh.
it's all just
Oh yeah.
retold stories and history.
Oh, it's you're 100% correct. In fact, when I was there, I took a little tour and I kind of got bored. And they took us out to an archaeological dig site. And while I was there, they showed how they had unearthed this place where they did a lot of sacrifices. And I was standing there and I was just kind of like, ah. And the guide, he came up to me and he goes, "You seem a little distant." I said, "Well, I said this is interesting, but it's not as interesting to me as biblical history." And he said, "Oh, well, you're not aware then where you're standing." And I went, uh, "No." He says, "Well, where you're standing, this area right here, is where Samson slew 1,000 Philistines." Lunchtime.
But yeah,
But he
to put
said,
it in
he
perspective
goes,
like that.
"Where you're standing is where Sam with the jawbone of an ass, a donkey." He said, "This is where it happened." And I was like, "Oh boy, that was intriguing." So I like the biblical side of the history more than anything. Yeah. Oh yeah, to put in perspective. Anyway, hey, I know you got lunch set up. You got to go. But again, Kermit, thank you so much for all of
Thanks for
this. And
sitting
for
with me,
any
man.
classmates, Kamehameha School classmates out there, if you ever come to Dallas and you need somebody to take you out for dinner, I'm your guy. Love to hear what's happening with everybody and you and the old gang from Kamehameha.
Right
Let me
on.
do.
I had a good time, Ray.
All right, man.
You take
Thank you,
care,
my
and
friend.
we shall see you someday down the road, I'm sure. Aloha.
I'm sure. Bye bye. Aloha.